Story 1. I'm pregnant. I think my husband is cheating with the 19-year-old next door. I am not the original poster. The original poster is you hella preggers. I, 32F, think my husband, 33M, may be having an affair with the girl, 19F, next door. I'm also pregnant. Originally posted to our relationship advice. Trigger warning. Infidelity. Original post, Reddit, April 12, 2019. My husband and I have been married for 4 years, dated for 7. We have one son, age 2, and I'm 6 months pregnant. I love him deeply. He's a very busy lawyer and often comes home late at night. I never thought he'd cheat on me, but since I began to get bigger, we've been having less sex. A few months ago, a young woman moved into the condo about 2 doors down. She's very beautiful but a bit aloof toward me. We invited her over to a dinner party when she first arrived. A few weeks ago, I noticed my husband followed her on Instagram and added her on Snapchat. I asked him about it, and he said she followed him first and he didn't want to be rude. Last week, I started noticing him using his phone more and more and generally being distracted. He said it was due to work, but 2 days ago, I saw a Snapchat notification on his phone with our neighbor's name. I asked him why he was messaging her, and he said she was interested in law and was asking him for career advice. Apparently at 12 a.m. via Snapchat. Yesterday, I was taking his suits to the dry cleaners and found a receipt for a sushi restaurant from a few nights ago when he said he was working late at his office. The sushi restaurant is close to our condo complex and nowhere near his office. There were 2 meals billed on the receipt. I confronted him when he came home from work, and he said he took a client out for dinner, but there were so many nice restaurants near his office. Why the one near our house? I'm almost 90% certain he's cheating. What should I even do? I'm about to be a mother of 2. I never prepared for the possibility of this happening in our marriage, and definitely not this soon. Advice, please. Relevant comments. Carnivore69. Given you can't be certain he's cheating yet, the first thing you need to do is stop confronting him for every discrepancy you notice. By doing so, he'll become more and more aware you're picking up on his activities, whatever they are. If those activities involve cheating, your actions will likely cause him to be more stealthy and better at covering his tracks. Use more restraint and let the evidence pile up until you can ascertain what's really going on. And be sure to document your findings however you can. In the meantime, act like your antenna isn't up and let him relax around you. Pointless username. I would tell my partner that a 33-year-old man Snapchatting a 19-year-old girl is completely inappropriate, and she can ask Google or any other lawyer for advice. Unacceptable. Cucky Mac Cuck. Do you have the disposable funds necessary to hire a private investigator? Partly to confirm, but also as an investment for a more favorable divorce settlement. Oop. We have a joint account and he might get suspicious if I withdraw a large sum of money. Maybe I can just investigate it myself. Update. Reddit, April 19, 2019, 1 week later. Thanks for everybody's advice on my first post. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. Last Friday after work, he left for a supposed weekend golfing trip with his 2 friends to a place only an hour's drive away. Before he left, I texted the wife of one of his friends to see if she wanted to get together for brunch on Sunday. She said she had plans with her husband. I then texted the wife of his other friend and, surprise, she confirmed that her husband was at home and not going on any trip. I pretended I didn't know and said goodbye to my husband as usual. However, I had asked my retired uncle, 65, to follow my husband's car. My husband does not know my uncle, so I thought it was a good plan. My uncle followed him to the airport and took a picture of him walking with the neighbor girl. He followed them and said they checked in at an airline counter with flights going to the Caribbean. I thanked my uncle and gave him money for gas and his time, but he refused. I was obviously devastated, and my son and I stayed with him and my aunt for the night. They advised me to find a good divorce lawyer right away. When my husband came home Sunday night, I said I was filing for divorce. He acted really shocked and hurt and asked me why. I said I knew about his affair and I had proof so he could stop acting stupid. He said I was mistaken. I then asked whether he enjoyed his beach vacation, and the look on his face was just undeniable. I guess he finally realized he was backed into a corner and had no more lies left to tell. I told him I just wanted to know why. He said that he was shy and insecure growing up and that he had really low self-esteem. He said he felt validated by the attention of a younger woman and that it made him feel wanted. He admitted it was a crush gone wrong. I said there's no way I can trust him again. He said that's understandable and that he was sorry it has come to this. He said he probably made a mistake. By marrying in his 20s, he said some men were ready to settle down at that age, but he realized he was not one of them. He said that he still loved me, though, but that it was best if we went our separate ways. The worst part of all this is he's staying at his mistress's condo a few doors down while we get our divorce. It will be a long few months, but I'm getting a good lawyer and making sure the future of my kids is secured. I also have a good support system around me. I'm planning on moving to another city after the divorce. It will be a while before I can learn to trust again. I've never hurt so much in my entire life. This level of betrayal from someone you thought was your soulmate is just indescribable. But I'm going to remain hopeful. Thanks for everyone's help and support. I wish it turned out different. TLDR. Had my uncle follow my husband. He lied about a golfing trip. He actually went to the Caribbean with his mistress. This is a repost sub. I am not the oop OP. Do not contact the oops or comment on linked posts. Remember Rule 7. Here are the top comments. First comment, can't wait for the update where the 19-year-old moves on and he tries to come back. Second comment, oh, he's a massive loser. Third comment, she was worried about him noticing if she took the money out to hire a PI. Meanwhile, he thought nothing of taking a girl half his age out to dinner dates and a weekend getaway to the Caribbean. Trash. Fourth comment, Snapchatting a teen when you're having a child in your 30s is just straight up gross. Fifth comment, they were together for 11 years, but he never met the uncle. Plus, the uncle was able to follow the husband through an airport. Story 2. My husband asked me to help raise the child from his affair. I was stunned. December 19, 2025. He didn't even try to deny it. My husband had an affair with a colleague and she's pregnant. He asked me to help raise the child he's having with another woman, saying we'd share custody so we'd still have time for ourselves. I'm leaving tomorrow to stay in my sister's guest room. I'll see a divorce solicitor after Christmas and I haven't told anyone yet. I've been physically sick over this. I need to get out and breathe before I tell the rest of the family. We both signed the lease, so I can't force him out and I can't change the locks. I've told the landlord I won't renew in February. My sister is helping cover the remaining rent so I can leave, and I'm grateful for that small mercy. April 4, 2026, over 3 months later. He lied about her marital status. She was engaged, not married, and her fiancé didn't even know about the affair until I told him. He lied about how far along she was. He told me she wasn't even halfway, but she's over 8 months pregnant. He lied about how long it was going on. He claimed less than 6 months, but the affair has been almost 2 years, and co-workers knew before I did. He was carrying on this affair while I was caring for his mother through dementia. She lived with us for the last year and a half and died in November. My mother-in-law was lovely before dementia, and she would have been horrified by what he did. His siblings and family are appalled. He says he regrets it and that he loves me, but after all his lies, I don't trust a single word. He wanted me to help raise his affair baby. I'm done. I have hired a solicitor. I'm leaving him and I don't want anything to do with him or that child. Story 3. My boyfriend's best friend tried to sabotage our relationship. I let her lie until she blew her cover. Bit of a long one, but worth the read. I tried to sum it up as best as I could. My boyfriend, M36, and I, F30, had been together for almost a year when this happened. Our relationship was genuinely good. We got along well, laughed a lot, and didn't really fight over stupid things. The only issue was one female friend of his, Tammy F30. To this day, I still don't fully know what her motivation was. My guess is that she didn't like that he was serious about someone else. She was also still friends with his ex, so I've always suspected she was trying to sabotage us on purpose. They were roommates along with his ex-girlfriend. His ex had cheated on him, so she had moved out and moved provinces. It was really obvious she still wanted another chance, but he wasn't interested. They had been broken up for 6 to 8 months before we started seeing each other. The weird part is that Tammy and I actually became close. I liked her, which is probably why I ignored my gut instinct for so long. Whenever it was just the two of us, she'd tell me things my boyfriend supposedly said, like, I don't think he's over his ex. He told me that. Just little comments that planted insecurity in my head. Around the same time, my boyfriend started acting differently toward me, and our relationship suddenly had trust issues. One time Tammy got annoyed because he didn't want to stay out drinking with her and instead wanted to come home and hang out with me. I thought that was weird, but I brushed it off. Things grew tense between my friend group and theirs. My friends had said they didn't like her and that I should talk to my BF about some of the things. She was saying, But I didn't want to be one of those controlling people who told their partner they couldn't friends with girls, and I was genuinely trying to fit into his group. This abruptly came to an end. One night I went out drinking with Tammy. At some point, I blacked out completely. I barely remember anything. I remember Tammy driving, and I remember some guy she said she knew being around. The next thing I remember is waking up in my own apartment, in my own bed, next to that guy, with Tammy walking into the room angry. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, we were both fully clothed and on top of the covers. Not that it excuses anything at all, but pause before you jump down my throat. The guy, I'll call him Peter, told me I had been really sick, throwing up, and that Tammy had basically ditched him there with me. He said he was too drunk to drive, and she was also really drunk and should not have been driving. He didn't want to leave me alone because I was in bad shape. I'm also a type 1 diabetic, and he knew that, so he said he stayed because he was genuinely worried about me. I told him he probably should have called an ambulance, but I was thankful to have not been left alone, and upset that my friend put me in a terrible situation where so many things could have gone wrong. After he left, I was so sick that I ended up going to the hospital. I tried multiple times calling my boyfriend who didn't answer the phone. I then checked my call logs, and I had also called him a few times last night, but he was likely sleeping. It also took me forever to even find my phone, and it was in a really weird place, in a drawer. And after reflecting over several days, I've come to the conclusion that she likely hid it on purpose. When I got home, my boyfriend had put all my stuff outside my door and blocked me on everything. Eventually, I got a hold of him and told him I genuinely felt like I had been drugged and had no clue what happened that night. Tammy had already told him that I was all over Peter and that I slept with him. Neither of those things happened. I was furious. I then knew that she had obviously set me up, perhaps even roofied me. I just couldn't prove it. So I started piecing the whole night together. I went back to the bar and talked to the bartender, who I knew. I asked what she saw, who I talked to, everything. Then I talked to Peter, who confirmed nothing happened between us. He told me Tammy was acting weird all night, and when I started throwing up, she basically left me there with him, a man I didn't know. He stayed because he didn't know if he should call an ambulance and didn't want to leave me alone. Apparently, Tammy came back later to check on me, which also meant she drove home drunk and then drove back drunk, so she left then came back. Right. I also got perspectives from other people who had been there that night. The more people I talked to, the less Tammy's version made sense. Meanwhile, Tammy was telling me a different story and insisting she had only told my boyfriend that she saw Peter and me in bed together and wasn't going to lie to him. My boyfriend broke up with me anyway, and I get the situation sucks, and he's going to believe his best friend of several years over me. At that point, I decided that even if we never got back together, I was not going to let this girl ruin my reputation and walk away clean. So I pretended everything was fine. I stayed friendly with Tammy and acted normal because I wanted her to get comfortable and keep talking. Eventually, I convinced my boyfriend to give us another shot. We started talking and hanging out again. The second that happened, Tammy started acting weird. The first day I went over there, she saw me on the doorbell cam and immediately texted him asking why I was there. I saw the text. That led to my boyfriend and I arguing, and a bunch of inconsistencies started coming out. Things she had told him about me, things she had told me about him. He started realizing she may have been playing both sides, but he still wasn't fully convinced that she would have gone as far as to put something in my drink and that I had likely drank too much. So I decided I needed proof. When Tammy got home, I asked my BF to give us some privacy and leave. I put my phone on record and calmly confronted her. No yelling, no drama. I just asked her to tell me what happened and explain her version of everything. She started with the same story she'd been telling, but then she started backtracking. Details changed. Her story shifted. She contradicted herself multiple times. I told her I knew she was lying to people and who told me specific details and that I didn't want to be friends with her anymore. Here's the part that makes me laugh now. I didn't tell my boyfriend I recorded her. I wanted to see what she would tell him happened during our conversation first. My thinking was if she lied about a conversation I literally had proof of, then I could prove she lied about everything else too. And that is exactly what happened. Tammy told him that I threatened her. She said I told her I would punch her out if she didn't change her story to my event's vision of the story, and that she was scared for her safety. I told him that was completely untrue, but he didn't believe me. Instead, he told me Tammy didn't feel safe having me at the house, so if he and I were going to keep hanging out, it had to be at my place. He said he was planning on moving as soon as he secured another place. He had faith in me, but that things had gotten too dramatic, and he wanted to distance himself from her anyway. This wasn't enough for me. I was honestly offended, but I also understood why he was conflicted. He had been friends with her for over 7 years, and one of the reasons I loved him was because he was so fiercely loyal to the people he cared about. We had also been friends before dating, and I knew what kind of person he was. I wasn't going to let her win, so I let Tammy keep talking. I let her spread her version of events to the friend group for about 2 weeks. Then once I heard her latest lie through someone else, I knew it was time. I sat my boyfriend down and played the recording. He was completely shocked. He has already stopped trusting her, but this was next level. He was sick over the fact that she had lied so much and manipulated both of us and potentially damaged the best relationship he had ever had. He moved out immediately, stayed at my place until he found another rental. We told the friend group I had recorded her and that she had lied about basically everything. The funniest part is that after all that, Tammy did absolutely nothing. She didn't defend herself, didn't respond to messages, and didn't even try to fight it. She moved too, stopped talking to everyone in that group, and basically disappeared. She embarrassed herself so badly that she removed herself. Best ending though, my boyfriend and I just celebrated 4 years together, and we have a genuinely happy life now. Edit. I picked Tammy because her real name starts with a T, and it was literally the first name that popped into my head. I didn't really put a lot thought into it. Edit 2 grammar. When I had arrived home initially, I wasn't capable of making decisions myself. It wasn't until the next day, like I'm talking 4 to 5 p.m. the next day, I was coherent. Apparently I had been throwing up from when we all arrived home around 2:30 a.m. until about 7 to 8 a.m. Tammy, according to the guy, left around 4 a.m. Came back around 1 p.m. I still was unwell. I awoke to her in the doorway. I was like, WTF is going on? I saw him there and panicked. I screamed thinking someone had assaulted me. I remember her says what the fuck and leaving. He calmed me down and talked me through what was going on. I went to the bathroom and threw up again. I drank a shit ton of water. After we talked, I asked him to leave, then had like a mental breakdown for like a few hours. I still wasn't better. Everything was really foggy. I had the worst headache of my life. I then called a cab and went to the hospital. By the time I was seen by someone, it was late, like 7 to 8 p.m. The nurse and doctor told me, depending on what I was drugged with, most leave your system between 8 and 24 hours depending on the dose. The other factor is because I threw up so much and used the washroom, drank lots of water, I could have flushed a lot of it out of my system. Based on my symptoms, it's likely that someone had put something there. I don't doubt it was her. There's too many factors there. Here are the top comments. First comment, I know her type way too well. She didn't leave because she was embarrassed. She left because everyone saw her mask slip and she couldn't manipulate them anymore. I think if you ask around, then you might be surprised by how many people she owes money to. Second comment, I don't think I like your BF very much. What the fuck? Third comment, she moved too, stopped talking to everyone in that group, and basically disappeared. She embarrassed herself so badly that she removed herself. I don't think it was due to embarrassment. I think it was due to her realizing she'd been outed and had no way to get the level of control she had back. She knew she wouldn't be able to manipulate, gaslight people at the level she'd done before. Fourth comment, your BF sucks for believing her over and over again, but congrats, Ig. Fifth comment, I had a Tammy of my own. It was so bizarre. She tried to lie to a mutual friend about a specific event and seemingly forgot that the mutual had also been there and remembered what actually happened, and therefore was able to go, what the hell are you talking about? Story 4. Am I the jerk for telling my dad, can't you even bother to be at your son's deathbed? My brother was in a motorcycle accident last week and is in a coma. My father lives far away, remarried, and has another child. We've always known he favors his new family. When the accident happened, I called him, expecting him to drop everything and come. He did come at first, but after a week, he told us he couldn't stay longer. Our brother was just sleeping, and he couldn't leave his wife and daughter alone. I asked how he could say that. He implied I was being dramatic when I lost my temper. I snapped. Can't you even bother to be by your son's side when he's on his deathbed? He told me I was threatening him. My sister said I was being hurtful, that it was his son in a coma. True, but that's exactly the point. He is still his son. We've already lost a sibling to an overdose. My mother is devastated, and my other siblings are falling apart. This should have been a time for our father to stay longer than a week. Is wanting that unreasonable? I told him to go back to his life and not to expect any updates from us about my brother. I warned that if he didn't want to be there when our brother woke, I might not even tell him. He got furious. He bought a plane ticket for the next day and left. I thought the matter was closed. He came back to the hospital to see my brother one last time before flying out. I didn't speak to him. After visiting, he asked my sister to tell me to update him. She refused. She was upset, and they argued. I blocked him after he messaged my sister, cursing her for making a 17-year-old cry while her brother lay in a coma. People online argued logistics. A week can be long, lives continue, and comas can last months. I know he owns a business and could have stayed longer. This feels like another abandonment to me. A nurse suggested we rotate visits and urged me to see a counselor. That kindness helped me breathe a little. I tried to change the emergency contact and accepted I can't carry everything alone. I need support. My father's past hurts. He cheated and left my mother when she was pregnant with one of my sisters. He'd been more involved recently, but his pattern of disappearing keeps me from trusting him. 9 days later, my brother's heart stopped. 10 hours after brain death was confirmed, we lost him. My mother and I argued about organ donation. The decision left me unsettled and sad. My little sister begged me to call our father so he could say goodbye. I relented and asked him to come. He couldn't find a seat on the next flight, and by the time he arrived on the second, my brother's heart had already stopped. He never had the chance to say goodbye, and part of me felt the universe had decided that for him. I sit with grief, anger, and a complicated relief that I didn't have to carry that final choice alone. Thank you to everyone who sent prayers and kindness. It's meant more than I can say during this terrible time. Here are the top comments. First comment, perspectives, man. They change everything. I'm going to go call my brothers. Second comment, motorcycles, man, fun to ride, but literal death traps. Even with all the proper gear and training won't change the fact that you become a meat crayon moving at high velocity when an accident occurs. Third comment, I don't blame UPP for how they felt. Getting abandoned or cast aside by a parent isn't something that gets fixed with a band-aid. Relationships aren't always indestructible. Fourth comment, Oop is a very, very hurt teenager, and that is evident in every sentence she wrote. I hope she heals from this one day, but I imagine she is going to have a journey to get there. Fifth comment, the commenters piling on the UPOP are really missing that it's not just about their brother dying. The UPOP is desperately trying to manage everything and directly says they're shouldering everything alone. Mother has checked out in grief. There's 3 younger siblings to take care of. The UOP needed help. The dad leaving is another reminder that his new family will always be prioritized. Story 5. My 7-month boyfriend keeps making rules for me. Is this jealousy or control? I am not the UOPA. Is U Rooks Rules 7. Me, 25F, with my boyfriend 25M duration 7 months. My boyfriend is very jealous and keeps making rules for me to follow. Trigger warning. Abusive behavior, controlling behavior, gaslighting, manipulation, verbal abuse, infidelity. Mood spoiler. An amazing ending for UOP, original post April 4, 2015. Hello everyone! I have a bit of a weird predicament to share with you. I have been dating my boyfriend Peter for about 7 months now. When we get along spectacularly. Our chemistry is off the charts. We're playful, we're both driven, we have similar interests, same career path, both read for leisure, both interested in exercise. I've been told by many friends that they can just sense how much we care about each other and that we have the same disposition, calm, relaxed, sweet. If not for the following stuff, I would be head over heels for him. Hell, I already am when he's not acting this way. So this stuff started happening about a month in. Peter is an extremely jealous person. He's admitted this to me. He can also be a bit judgmental and conservative. The following is a list of things he's asked me to do for him throughout the course of our relationship. I haven't asked for anything like this in return, and I've even asked him if he feels like I've done the same. And he's said no. No cursing. No low-cut shirts. No weed. Not a big deal. I've smoked 10 times and was okay with giving this up for him. He prefers me to not get drunk. Not a big deal. I don't drink a lot, but it kind of sucks that I can never let loose and get tipsy with my friends without a comment from him. No perverted jokes with him or anyone else. He says the jokes would be funny if a guy said them, but they're not funny when I do it. No using a joking little kid voice with friends. even girls. No talking about other guys around him because he thinks I'm trying to make him jealous. No talking about past relationships, even though he does this. No emoticons in texts with other guys. No exclamation points or sounding too flirty or happy when talking to guys. Audibly say goodbye when we part ways. Verbally greet him, even if I'm late to class. No speaking to male friends on the telephone or texting after 10 p.m. at night. Text him when I leave my apartment and I'm on the way to school. This isn't a specific rule, but if I don't text him for 3 to 4 hours during the day, he'll say, "Oh, hi there, silent one. What have you been up to?" He likes me to stop by his study space when I get to school, before class, after class, and before I leave at the end of the day. He's stopped by my space less than 10 times in our 7 months together. He asks me if I'm behaving when we're not together physically. We've had a bit of a power struggle when I've wanted to go out with my group of friends. There is a structured timetable of how much I'm allowed to talk to my ex. We broke up 2 years ago and a half and had a year of silence. Recently, we've been speaking on Facebook. He doesn't have my phone number. It's random stuff about our undergraduate, just friendly stuff, light-hearted. I'm only allowed to talk to him once every 3 weeks for 10 to 15 minutes. If he Facebooks me and it's been outside those 3 weeks, I'm not supposed to respond. He still gets mad even when the ex Facebooks me. I'm not supposed to flirt with members of the opposite sex. I don't. However, he's seen interactions between guys and me, and it appears he thinks that anything along the lines of smiling, laughing, or sarcasm are grounds for flirting. He doesn't like easily 80% of the guys I interact with on a regular basis. There have been a few incidents that have bothered me in the time we've been together. In the interest of time, the most recent problem he and I have been having is my friend named James. James graduated last year from the program that Peter and I are in together. He's a big brother type to me. He was an assigned TA for the class I was in, and I went to a study group he led. We became friends. We've been friends for 3 years and nothing has ever happened, and neither James nor I have ever shown any interest in it. We just have similar political views and give each other dating advice on occasion. James came to visit the school, and he and I got together for lunch while he was here. He was here for 3 days, and I saw him once for only an hour. Before he visited, we texted back and forth maybe once every 10 days. Since he visited, it's been 2 to 3 times a week, about 10 texts at a time. Nothing outrageous. I imagine it'll start lessening when it's been longer since his visit and exams approach. He's in a new city without a lot of friends, and I enjoy talking to him. Because he's working. He usually texts me on Saturday and Sunday more than the work week. James texted me last Saturday morning. I didn't answer, so he followed up with a text on Sunday. We chatted briefly about a TV show. Then he texted me again this Saturday to tell me about his date the night before. This has been driving Peter up the wall. He's demanded to see the text back and forth. Even though I strongly object to this, as I think it's an invasion of privacy only 7 months in, I let him see all the texts. There was nothing inappropriate there. This is where the no emoticon rule came from, though. However, Peter says that James is a shark and is only friends with me because he wants to date me. This is ridiculous because James and I have no feelings towards each other, act more like siblings, and are going to be living in different states for the rest of our lives. Peter causes a fight every time he notices James texting me or gets pouty and silent until I ask him what's wrong, then we fight. About 2 hours ago, Peter gave me another rule. He wants me to arrange it so James only texts me once a week. No word yet on how many texts I would be allowed to exchange with him. He also says he doesn't want us talking about intimate things. When I asked him what that entailed, he brought up that he was mad that I told James that I was going to take a nap in the last conversation we had. I only told James that as a conversation ender so he wouldn't wonder why I wasn't responding. Peter just seems unreasonable, I guess. Here's the big problem. I feel like Peter gets mad about something, fights with me until I'm worn down, then comes up with a compromise which is really just him imposing another rule on me. There was a guy who liked me at the beginning of the year that I eventually just had to block on my phone because Peter got so mad about it. He's asked me twice to show him that the guy is really blocked. He really is. Same thing happened with the ex, and I know his endgame is me never speaking to the ex again. Peter had a jealousy issue with my friend Rob, and wore me down to the point that I basically just avoid Rob now. Rob even approached to ask if I was mad at him and apologize for whatever he did. I just feel like this is going to keep happening over and over. I never get the benefit of the doubt. James is constantly afraid I'm going to be stolen, and I feel like I teeter-totter between wanting to give him what he asks, so he'll feel comfortable and feeling like it will never be enough. I feel like a caged animal. I'm afraid every time James texts me or any guy speaks to me in front of Peter. I like him so much, but this jealousy is driving me crazy. I'm also afraid if we're together, I'm going to get to the point where I'm not allowed to be friendly with 50% of the population. I'm in danger of losing a total of 3 good, respectful guy friends, all of which I've known for longer than Peter. I knew Rob for 2 years, James for 3, and the ex for nearly 6. I'm not a bad person or a bad girlfriend, and I'm tired of being treated this way. We fight at least weekly, sometimes twice a week over an issue like this. I just want it to stop and to be with the person I fell so hard for. But I also don't want to end up in a controlling relationship with someone who can't manage their jealousy. Any advice? Ever been on his side or mine? He's already going to a counselor, but our school only provides one every 2 weeks, and he missed his last appointment. He's open to couples counseling, but I don't know if there's a point 7 months in. Because he missed the last appointment, he hasn't brought up the jealousy thing with his counselor yet. He's willing to read books on this topic, but I feel like the problem is that he won't start to get better until he really trusts me and wants to change. He says that he does, but then he keeps doing this stuff. Tall Dada, very jealous boyfriend, continually gives me rules. Sample list above, not all of them. Any ideas on how to make him more comfortable? Is this fixable? Have you been on either side of something like this? Irrelevant complens. Melt my cheesicked by. You just presented us with a literal bullet point list of why you need to break the fuck up with him. ASAP. Peter is the shark here. And actually, you're right, this will keep happening over and over. Not only will it keep happening, but it will keep escalating. Here is a list for you, and I will call it soon. Soon, you will be afraid to walk around while looking anywhere but the ground because you don't want to be accused of purposely making eye contact with someone. Soon, you will compliantly give him access to all of your stuff to placate him, and he will peruse your personal stuff regularly. Many confrontations will result about your infractions, and he will spring them on you at inconvenient times. Soon, you will not be allowed to interact or be friendly with anyone who isn't on his approved list. This will eventually include your family. Soon, while you're constantly on eggshells afraid to be accused of cheating, you will find out that he actually cheated on you. Maybe with one of those exes he likes to talk about. Because you see, these types are so paranoid about cheating because they are cheaters and think everyone else will cheat too. Soon, if you have a job, he will be asking about your coworkers and maybe even show up there for a surprise inspection. Don't be surprised if soon, additionally, he starts the practice of keeping you up all night fighting and not letting you sleep when he knows you have to work. Soon, you will stop butting heads about you going out with friends. This is because he will make your every attempt so miserable that you will give up to make things easier. Soon, you will be but a shell of your former self and will wonder who the fuck that is staring at you in the mirror. Soon, he may become violent. He likely won't until he has effectively removed your support systems, friends and family. But eventually, he damn near certainly will. I hope that soon you heed the warnings and get the fuck away from this lunatic before he ruins you. Seriously, you have to get this. This is very, very bad. He will not change no matter how much counseling he gets. You modifying your behavior will never change his. He is fucking dangerous and you need to end it with him now before he gets the chance to employ more advanced tactics on you. You are in dire need of these 2 books, The Gift of Fear, and Why Does He Do That? I beg you, read them. Please seriously get the fuck away from this person. Edit, more stuff coming soon to a relationship near you. Will add as I think of them. Soon, he will call you slut and or whore for the first time because he told you not to wear that shirt. You will get upset. You also will never wear that shirt again. Ooh, I don't live near my family, but there was a time last weekend where I was texting my family about a basketball game. We were cuddling on the couch and he took the phone away and said, "Babe, can we just have us time? We've been fighting all day and I just want to be with you, so that might be imminent." We fought today after James texted me about his date last night. I've been sick with a 101 plus fever the past 2 days and cuddling with my childhood stuffed animal. He picked her up and acted like he was going to rip her arm off because he wanted to scare me and see what I would do. I had to stop myself from kicking him. I've had the animal since I was 5 and she's from my dead grandmother. I don't know what I would do if she was broken. When I got her back, I tried to kick Peter out, and he wouldn't leave. I ended up throwing his shoes and keys into the hallway and pushing him out the door. He took me out to lunch and then went back to the library. Now he's mad that we're going to bed angry. This was one of the texts I got this afternoon. I know you don't want to hurt his, meaning James' feelings, by telling him to take it easy on texts. But you need to consider your boyfriend's feelings about this guy texting you so often every week. What he is doing is crossing my boundary. I know you don't want to hurt his feelings, so I get you might not want to tell him flat out to stop texting. There are other ways. The main point is that this is too much, and it is crossing a line of mine. I think once a week might be ideal, and if we could reach that, it would ease my feelings. I ask that you consider my feelings. In return, I will make sure my jealousy does not lead me to imposing boundaries. You can tell him the truth, that he is crossing my boundaries, and I ask that he respects me. I am being reasonable. All of our fights the last few weeks have been about this. If this goes away, then we both win and we can stay together happier. When I asked him what he's ever done in exchange for what I've given up, he said that he went through a phase of criticizing me and he's gotten better, that was real change. Then he told me that I mean the world to him and he wouldn't go out of his way to try and fix our issues if he didn't care about me and being together for the future. I told him I wanted a break. Update May 1st, 2015, 1 month later. Hi, all. Sorry that I dropped off and stopped responding all of a sudden. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you all for the outpouring of support and kindness that you showed me after my original post. I've read every single comment and PM probably 4 times and watched every lecture that was sent my way. I also went and picked up a book 2 days ago about controlling relationships, which was recommended to me by a few Redditors. I've read 160 pages so far. Honestly, I'm so turned around in this relationship that I don't know what's happening anymore. I do think that this relationship has some disturbingly manipulative and controlling elements coming from Peter. We've had several incidents in the last 4 weeks which have been very disheartening. Here are a sample. I went out to happy hour with friends, a guy and girl that are engaged to each other, at 5 p.m. while Peter studied. I guess he assumed we were eating dinner together because we eat most of our meals together. He didn't confirm that though. He knew where I was going and who I was with. I put my phone away because my friends both had their phone away and it was just us 3. My phone was on silent because I had been in the library. I checked my phone every half hour or so. The last time I checked it, he had sent me a text asking about dinner and then a snarky follow-up 15 minutes later. I had ordered an appetizer with my friends and wasn't hungry. I told him to go ahead and eat without me and we'd meet up later. I decided to go back to my friend's house to play with their dog and have another beer. Peter had told me that he was going to study until 10 p.m. and then wanted to spend the night together. All of a sudden, Peter was mad at me for not telling him I was eating, not telling him we switched locations, even though I did, within 10 minutes of switching places, and telling me that he had right as my boyfriend to know where I was. He said I was inconsiderate and selfish. He was texting me every 10 to 15 minutes, angry at me, and completely ruined the night. I couldn't hide from my friends that I was upset, and it was borderline humiliating. I went home by 10 p.m. but didn't want to see him because I was angry. He didn't apologize until the next day after we talked about it extensively, and even then tried to justify it. I feel weird around my friends now that they've seen this. There was another incident when we ran into one of my good friends and I stopped to chat with her. Peter and I had spent the night together, had lunch together, and gone on a walk. I caught up with my friend for 3 minutes and then planned on walking to Peter's study space to chat for a few minutes before going back to my friend to study with her. Peter likes to say goodbye even though we study like 20 feet apart, separated by a wall. Peter got impatient, felt ignored, and walked off. Then he sent me several texts about how rude and inconsiderate I was by pretending that he wasn't there. That wasn't true at all. I was telling my friend I liked her sweater, asking her how she was. Then I was going to exit with Peter to fill my water bottle and say goodbye. This blew up into a 3-hour argument via text. I had my best friend from home visiting last weekend. She stayed with me and drove 18 hours round trip in 4 days just to see me. Peter constantly texted, made passive-aggressive comments if I didn't respond quickly enough, and generally was negative about me not giving him enough attention. I pointed all this out. He agreed and told me he would calm down. We all went to a dinner on her last night in town, and I thought it went nicely. When Peter got out of the car, my friend made a comment that she was glad to see Peter and I getting along better. 5 minutes later, I got a text from Peter, criticizing me, accusing me of not acting like a couple with him, acting distant and not holding his hand. I was shocked. I thought I did a great job with the conversation. He talked for his fair share amount of time, and he got along well with my friend. She's been my best friend for 10 years. He said he hates how I always do this. I have literally no idea what he's talking about. This wasn't a date. This was the first time he met one of the people who was most important to me, and the last thing I wanted to do was make her feel like a third wheel. I told him I wasn't going to argue while she was in town, but obviously was upset for the rest of the night. He apologized the next day, but only after a long conversation. Obviously, he didn't make a great impression once my friend saw the aftermath of dinner. Peter and I had a good day on Tuesday. We had fun, were getting along, etc. I came over to his place, took a nap, he went to soccer, and then I ordered us dinner. We ate together and bonded. I checked my phone, I keep it in my backpack now at his request, and he saw I had a text. He wanted to know who it was from and what it said. I told him it was from James, asking where I was studying this summer, my home state or school state. Peter started lecturing me about getting texts after 10 p.m. It was 10:30 where we were, 9:30 where James was. He talked about how it was inappropriate. He wouldn't talk to a girl so late and asked why James wanted to know where I was. He asked if James was planning on visiting me. James and I have no plans like that whatsoever. Later, I got chapstick out of my backpack, and Peter started accusing me of sneaking around to text James back. I wasn't. He asked me 3 times if that's what I did. I almost left, but Peter convinced me to stay. All of the sudden, I felt suspicious. I asked to see his Facebook chat log so I could see when he had lasted Facebooked his ex that he swears he hasn't spoken to. He refused. I ended up leaving, then coming back and saying if he wouldn't show me the same transparency he's demanded from me, it was over. He still tried to say no. In retrospect, I'm horrified by how angry I felt. I wanted to push him or hit him. I've never, ever felt like that towards another person. It's like I didn't recognize myself. He ended up showing me the log. He had a long conversation with his ex from Christmas Eve, which was laden with inside jokes, flirting, and sexual references. I asked to see his phone. Whole months were missing from his call log, but he had 2 voicemails from her, which insinuated they had some contact with each other. He swears that's all there is, but almost half his call log is gone. This is something I could forgive in a normal relationship, with remorse and change, but it hurts a lot considering that he's breaking rules he's given me, lied, and been hypocritical. I feel so watched and suffocated over actual guy friends, subjected myself to structured timetables imposed by him, had an open phone policy, and he's off talking about suggestive stuff with his ex. She's blocked him now, but that's not the point. He's got me to the point where I feel guilty every time a male friend talks to me, and I've actually started believing that I'm doing something wrong if I laugh at a guy friend's joke. I feel sick when my phone goes off if I'm around him. I've been reading literature on controlling abusive relationships and shared my concerns with him that he's meandering into this territory. He's been dismissive of it almost every time I've brought it up. I've had 3 friends tell me they're concerned based on the rules and his jealousy. He just says he has high standards and boundaries and that I would be jealous too if the roles were reversed. I don't think I would be, but he insists I would. I just feel like he doesn't listen to me or take me seriously. I thought things were getting better. He said I could text James whenever I wanted, and he would be less harsh, critical in general. Yesterday, though, he asked if I had responded to James and why that guy wanted to know where I was, and said it was weird James was being so nosy. I think James was just making conversation. Then last night I was studying with friends and Peter walked by. Peter and I had just fought. We had been at dinner 10 minutes before, and I was mid-word in conversation with a friend and just made eye contact with him and looked away. I got a text asking why I didn't smile and wave. I apologized and said it was my fault and didn't mean to hurt his feelings. I then got more texts saying I was cold and demanding an explanation. That got me upset, and I tried to tell him that the constant criticism and control was too much, that I felt like he was trying to control my emotions and make me pretend to be happy when I wasn't. He told me I was overreacting and he was tired of arguing and just wanted to be good and nice. I feel like he starts a fight, expresses his feelings, then wants it to be over, even though the criticism and control is really wearing me down and making me agitated. I just feel like if I stay with him, I'm going to end up giving in and letting him criticize me, letting go of my guy friends, and apologizing when I mess up. That I'll just end up a shell of myself and cater to his needs instead of compromising. But I also don't think he's doing this on purpose. I think he gets insecure and doesn't know how to fix it. So he wants me to do it instead of asking himself if he's overreacting. I think that's how we get all these rules. He's fixing symptoms and not the root cause. I don't think any of this is malicious. I tried to break up with him again 2 days ago. He begged me to wait until after finals, 8 days. Eventually I agreed, but said that there would be no sleepovers or physical affection. He agreed, But now he's trying to kiss me, even when I tell him I don't want to kiss. Then he gets mad. I'm not kissing back. He says he knows now that he's being controlling and manipulative, and he'll change. But I'm not seeing any change. I just feel so confused as to whether I'm overreacting or not. I can't tell if he's actually being a little abusive, and he makes me doubt myself because he doesn't call me names or hurt me physically. He wants to read the book when I'm done with it, and says he'll learn from it and wants to stay with me. In 8-day finals are over. In 17 days, I graduate from law school. I just feel so bad about myself and confused. I've always been an empathetic person, an emotionally intelligent person. That's usually what I'm known for by friends. Know how to say the right thing at the right time and see things from other people's perspectives. But I feel so steamrolled. I'm also so embarrassed. I'm supposed to be this strong, capable woman, and I can't even tell if my relationship is healthy. Right now, I'm planning on dumping Peter the second his final is over and blocking him on everything. I feel relief when I think about that, but I also feel scared that I'll miss him and that I'm being crazy and unwilling to compromise. That I'm throwing away something good by being dramatic. I keep trying to convince myself, apart from the question of whether he's controlling, that if I'm not happy, I can't stay with Peter, that long distance is too hard. He wants to interview at law firms in my city and plan on how to get back together in a year. I can't do that if I have any doubts, and I don't want to spend another day miserable. I have to dump him. I just need to make sure I do. I've already tried multiple times. I can't get talked back into this. This isn't healthy. Side note, he knows that I've posted on here but not what my username is, and he hasn't seen the original post. It's a possibility he could stumble upon this, and he would obviously recognize it because of this level of detail. TLDR, I feel like a crazy person. I'm doubting my emotions. I know I need to break up with him, but I'm so worried I'm being overdramatic and ruining something because I'm unreasonable. I know I need to get out, but why am I so reluctant to? Final update from the rules girl. I did it. May 25, 2015, 24 days after first update. I finally did it. Today, I took the last step and blocked him on all my accounts, 10 minutes ago. We're going no contact. You all were right that he used the time before and immediately after finals to draw me back in. I don't really regret waiting, though. I didn't want to be the reason that he ended up messing up all his finals and potentially not getting a job he wanted because of grades. That isn't the person that I want to be, and I'm okay with sacrificing a few weeks of my happiness for retaining that part of myself. The following weeks were full of his apologies, assurances that he's changing, etc., but nothing changed. I realized that I didn't even want to wait around to see if he could get better because I don't want to be with him. He's not respectful of me, and you can't teach respect. He seems completely incapable of empathizing with me and taking me into consideration when making plans. He wouldn't listen to me. He was dismissive of my concerns, and I just didn't feel valued, supported, or happy when we spoke. When I broke up with him, he said that's what he wanted too, because my interactions with men, including James, are inappropriate and not in line with his beliefs. 2 months ago, that would have really bothered me, and I would have gotten reeled back in defending myself. But I just said, you know that's not true, but I'm not going to fight with you about it. I wish you the best. Goodbye, and then blocked him. I feel a little sad and lonely. It'll be weird to go from nearly constant contact and cutesy text messages to complete and utter silence. But I'm hoping the payoff of not having horrible fights multiple times a week will balance that out. The good news, I graduated last week, made honor roll, got the highest award in a competitive class. I'm back in my home state, living with my parents. I adore them and get along well with them, and my bar review class starts tomorrow morning. I'm back to running and lifting multiple times a week, and I'm in the process of booking up my social calendar. It'll be hard to stop checking my phone, compulsively and sad going to sleep without saying goodnight to him. But I think that I'm in the best circumstances, aka not living one building away, to make this fade as gently as possible. I've reached out to a friend already and she supports my decision. I'll reach out to a few others this afternoon. The hardest part of this is letting go of the fantasy that he would get better, and I could have this intense, passionate, beautiful relationship with him that was also healthy. I let his possessiveness slide because I felt so intensely cared about, but now I know what to watch out for in the future. I'm going to remain single for the rest of 2015 in an effort to build myself back up and prevent another toxic relationship. I will protect myself in the future the way I would protect a friend. I'm 25 now and I need to start taking who I date more seriously because I don't want to end up married to someone like Peter. I'm scared of the future of being with someone like him and of never feeling this level of passion again. I'm especially afraid that I really am all the things he accused me of being. But I know I'm doing the right thing. This is usually when he would come running to my door, knocking, waiting, and begging me to unblock him. This is the first time I won't. Thank you so much for your support and patience. This sub gets a lot of grief for a myriad of reasons, but you all do so much good. So much more than you even know. I am eternally grateful to each and every one of you that commented, and especially those that direct messaged me. You all were a lifeline to me when I wasn't ready to turn to my friends. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Told older I dumped him. Got accused of sort of cheating again during the breakup, feeling weird but relieved. Blocked him on everything. Just wanted to share the good news. 2 years out of an abusive relationship, and I'm so happy I could burst. July 29th, 2017. Over 2 years later, 2 years ago, I posted some rather desperate "Are relationships?" questions asking for help. If you're curious, the initial cry for help, starting to gather strength to leave, the jubilant breakup post, I knew deep down that something was desperately wrong with my relationship, but I was hell-bent on fixing it. The posts were the beginning of finding my way out of what felt like a mind fog. I tried to post on relationships to let people know how it was going, in the hopes that if there were people considering leaving similar situations, they know that something better is out there. Unfortunately, relationships doesn't allow multiple posts. However, I felt an intense desire to share the after part of leaving an abusive relationship, to let women know that there is life after an abuser, even if they feel like their world will cease without the relationship. I hope this sub is an okay place for this. It only took about 2 months after my breakup to know that I would 100% be okay. That moment came while I was on a family vacation and was curling my hair in the mirror. I made eye contact with my reflection. I remember being startled because I saw someone looking back that looked calm. She wasn't worried about whether she'd get called slutty, whether smiling too much at dinner would get her accused of cheating, or whether the swimsuit she chose for the pool would get her accused of showing off and yelled at. For the first time in a year, I felt happy, safe, and confident. I became nearly giddy, realizing I hadn't been criticized in months, and I felt free. It took so much for me to get out of the relationship. I think I was borderline addicted to the highs and lows. Every time I started to escape, I got love bombed. Learned this term in my research post-breakup and pulled back in. I was worried nothing would ever feel as good as that relationship. However, I followed all the standard breakup advice and worked out, reconnected with friends, started up new hobbies, and very importantly, went to counselling. It was a long road, but a much easier one than I originally expected. And at the end of it, I was happy. Here's a list of things that have happened to me in the last 2 years that have been better than that relationship. Passing my state's bar to become a lawyer. Starting a new job where I feel challenged and respected. Getting a gorgeous new apartment downtown. Getting into the best shape of my life. Making friends with a strong group of intelligent, kick-ass women that my ex would have never let me befriend. Drinking, smoking, sleeping without being guilted for not following my ex's expectations for what I should be doing with my time. Getting a cat and not needing to worry about her safety around my ex or him getting jealous. Leaving my house without having to give text updates about where I am. Smiling at strangers without being questioned over it. Being approached to run for office in 2018 and saying yes because I want to do it, and literally everything. Here's what I want to say to anyone who is interested. Anyone can get sucked into an abusive relationship. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how confident you are, or how independent you want to be. Just because you're in one doesn't make you dumb or worthless. It doesn't make you easy prey or unable to be in a healthy relationship next time. The only antidote is listening to your gut and respecting boundaries that you put into place for your own life. There were so many times that I felt a pit in my stomach and knew something was wrong but ignored it because I felt like a compromise could be found. Some people out there are scary, they are manipulative, and they do not want the best for you. They only care about themselves, and you cannot make them respect you, value you, or treat you well. When you meet that person, don't try to change them. Cut your losses and leave. Don't let their voice get in your head and to start believing their narrative of who you are. It took me nearly a year to undo the damage that an 8-month relationship did to me. Can you believe things got this bad in 8 months? I would internally feel myself panic for months after the breakup when I laughed too much with my friends, thinking that I would be getting lectured about being fake, flirty, inappropriate. It took me so long to start making sarcastic jokes again. My ex didn't get them or think they were funny. I basically had to regrow all my self-confidence and redefine my self-worth. I could barely even express an opinion on where I wanted to eat since it hadn't mattered in so long. Once I got past that, I remember marveling at the tranquility of my life being mine, my self-esteem returning to normal, and people treating me gently, kindly. My parents told me I was happier than they'd seen me in a year, and my best friend told me that she was glad to have me back. Side note, counseling is important. People that are in an abusive relationship are more likely to get into another one than someone who has never been abused. When you're being abused, up looks like down and down looks like up. Going to counseling helped me reorient, figure out what was normal, and taught me to listen to my gut. It helped me rebuild and make sure this wouldn't happen again. I didn't even need many sessions, but I actually liked it by the end. I'm forever a gigantic advocate of finding a counselor that fits your needs well. I don't want this to be the point of my post, so I'm putting it last. I took a dating hiatus for 6 months after the breakup and tried to rebuild on my own. I think this was extremely important to help me recenter. After the 6-month hiatus, I wrote out parameters for dating and a list of things I needed in a partner: kindness, gentleness, warmth, and even temper. I was picky. I stopped seeing people that I felt weren't listening to me or weren't treating me well. After 6 months of dating, I found someone that fit the list. I've been dating him for a bit over a year, and I can't stress how different this relationship is. It's night and day. I'm listened to, respected, treated like a real partner, and my boundaries matter. I can be friends with whoever I want. I'm still good friends with James, and my alone time is given with no questions asked. TL.R. I was in an abusive relationship, asked Reddit for help, and they came through. Life is so much better post-breakup. I want to emphasize this can happen to anyone. Just because it's happening doesn't mean you deserve it. Get out. Life gets better than you can imagine. This is a repost sub. I am not the oop. Do not contact the oops or compen on linked posts. Remember Rule 7. Here are the top comments. First comment. Abuse messes with your head way deeper than logic. Smart people get caught in it all the time. Glad she got out and rebuilt her life. That's the part that matters. Second comment. Weird how their rules are always super fucking important to their entire moral framework, but they never have to follow their own rules. Ugh, not enough money on earth would be enough to relive my 20s. Third comment. I got halfway through his list of rules and wondered why anyone would ever date someone like that, let alone someone studying to become a lawyer. Fourth comment. I read the title and thought, sound like my abuser. Saw the ages, did the math. The ages checked out. Saw the name. Blood ran cold. Read the conditions. Holy shit. I started breathing again when I saw the Americanized spelling. I need a Valium. Fifth comment. For anyone reading this who sees similarities in their own relationship and would like to read these books, but is too scared to, online versions are available here for Why Does He Do That? And here for The Gift of Fear. Make sure to delete your internet browsing history after each time you do more reading. Called off my wedding for financial infidelity. Then discovered we're already legally married. Created this account to post this because my life has turned into a Reddit story. Location, Texas. My fiancé 27M and I 26F have been together for 7 years and we're going to get married in August of this year. We bought a house together 3 years ago and have 2 dogs. He proposed in May 2025 and I thought we were going to live happily ever after. We share finances due to the house, but split everything 50-50. We have joint bank accounts, credit cards, on each other's, phone and insurance plans, etc. I manage everything in that aspect, and every month he put in no problem and paid his portions. When he proposed, he did the math for exactly how much we each needed to save each paycheck to have the big wedding we envisioned. And he never missed a paycheck savings since that day. On Valentine's Day, we were almost 6 months out from our wedding and my entire life blew up. I was very stressed at the idea of putting 30k into a wedding. I had sent a non-refundable 10k check to the venue that same week. Before I sent it, I told him we could back out of the big wedding idea and just elope for a lot cheaper, that this was our chance to back out. He wanted the big wedding, so I sent the check. Even though we were saving, I could tell we will be 2-3k short at the end of this, and I didn't want to go into debt for a wedding. He works commission, so I was asking if he could contribute more to the wedding fund if he has a good sales month. When he didn't say yes, I asked, "Are you hiding something from me financially?" He broke down and told me that he had racked up 17K of credit card debt on his personal credit card. I was shattered. Finances has always been so important to me as I was on my own at 17 and have always had to figure things out with no help. I had always paid off the entire balance of my credit card every month, and he told me he did the same. I found out it had been 3 years of this debt accumulating. Of course, the part that hurts the most are the lies. The times I asked if he paid off his credit card and he said yes. Through the course of the next week, I found out some other lies as well. He has a serious issue of lying to please those around him. He immediately enrolled himself in individual therapy and offered us to do couples therapy. He knows he fucked up. I said I would go to the couples therapy to talk about all of this, but I have been very clear that I am in a state of limbo and don't know if I want this relationship. The 10K check for the venue wasn't due until the end of the next week, so we were able to tell the venue to not cash it, and we decided to cancel the wedding altogether. The next 2 weeks went by, and as we are still trying to figure out where the relationship stands, we had to file our taxes. We bought the house 3 years ago and got solar panels on the house shortly after. There was a tax credit offered in those panels at the time, so we went to H&R Block to see how we could get that credit. I promise this is relevant. Since we live in TX and live together, the lady there told us we could file our taxes as married in order to get the full tax credit. So we did. When she suggested this 2 years ago, I asked what would happen if we broke up, and she said you'd have to fill out a separation form. It didn't seem like that big of a deal, so we did it. Well, when we went to file this year, the idea of breaking up was more real, so I asked the same lady at H&R Block, it's a small town and she's still there, 2 years later again, what would happen if we break up, and she said I would need to consult a lawyer because we are married. And that's what I did. I have a legal shield benefit through my work, so I called a lawyer, and he informed me we are in fact common law married according to the state of TX and would need a legal divorce in order to separate. I know it's naive, but we genuinely didn't know filing married would make us legally married. If we knew we needed a divorce, we would not have done it 2 years ago. So here I am 2 months after all of the lies came out, legally married and trying to figure out if I need to get a divorce while never having a wedding. The lawyer said the fact that it was H&R Block that filed for us makes no difference since we both signed the return. I'm curious if we can annul even though it's been 2 years? My fiancé husband seems set on making sure his debt doesn't become mine if we went the divorce route. If we agree to leave with what we came in with, can that happen? Or does it have to be 50-50 everything? We also cannot sell the house for as much as we owe on it, new build and bought when prices were higher. We would have to take out a 40K loan to avoid a short sale, or we could rent it out in hopes the value goes up. If we continue owning the house together, how does that work in a divorce? Here are the top comments. First comment, you have been together for 7 years with shared finances and own a house together. If you plan on separating, you should consult a lawyer, legally married or not. Second comment, talk to a divorce lawyer and get your options, and stop taking legal advice from the random lady at HR Block. She's not a lawyer. Many aren't even CPAs, but rather random people off the street hired for the tax season. Third comment, I think you have committed tax fraud. You need to see a CPA tax accountant. Fourth comment, if it's an amicable divorce, you can do whatever the two of you agree on, and don't even need a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, just someone who got divorced in Texas. We both agreed that our separate debts, 8/8, were going to stay with each of us, and I took on the house because I was in a better position for it, and we would have taken a loss selling. It's easier to just leave the house to one person or sell it if you can. Fifth comment, my parents filed a married for 30+ years. When they split, they worried so much about the divide paperwork that they put it off for nearly 20 years. When they filed for Social Security, they found out that they were considered never married by the US Gov. They also owned property together. I think you'll probably find that this is a bit more of a molehill than a mountain. Abusive ex threatens to sue over a joke I told at an open mic. I am not the OOP. Is you come die legal advice? Abusive ex-boyfriend is threatening to sue over a joke I told about him at an open mic. Originally posted to our legal advice. Trigger warning. Stalking harassment. Original post Oct 31, 2018. A few years ago, I was in an extremely abusive relationship. I'm not a professional comedian. I don't make money from this. Sometimes I get free drinks or something, and I have a day job that I'm not looking to quit. This is just a hobby. I go to open mic nights and tell jokes for fun. It's hard to explain this joke exactly without totally identifying myself, which I don't want to do. but it's a pretty dark story about this fucked up thing my ex did to me once. Although it's not a funny situation, the way I tell it is pretty funny and it gets a big laugh. I do not use his name or any identifying info about him at any point. We live in a very large city. It's not like everyone automatically knows who I'm talking about. I'm not famous or anything. Anyway, an acquaintance of mine recorded me telling this joke and put it on Snapchat, and she apparently also knows him. This acquaintance did not send it to him directly or anything, and didn't even know he was the person I was talking about, or that he and I knew each other. Total coincidence. He saw it on Snapchat and sent her a lot of messages demanding to know where this was and what else I said about him. She told him the bar we were at first, but he kept pressing for more details and made her uncomfortable, so she blocked him and let me know what happened and apologized profusely for letting him know what bar. We go there a lot, but she didn't know better. I'm not mad. My ex DM'd me on Twitter, which is the only form of contacting me I didn't have him blocked on, and told me he was going to sue me for defamation because I'm telling lies about him and committing character assassination. He also sent me a cease and desist letter attached in my DMs as a photo that restated his intent to sue and compensate for the damages done to his reputation. Can he do this? First of all, they are not lies. This is a true story about a horrible thing that actually happened. But more importantly, I don't use his name. Nobody knew it was about him until he freaked out and told someone. What do I do? Also, can I keep telling jokes about him? Relevant components. Axelon Nemesis. You're good. I'd add this into your new set. Oop! Haha. I'll probably get there eventually, but it's just stressful right now. I can't even imagine finding any humor in it. I felt that way about most of my personal stories at the time, though. I'll think it's funny once I get through this. The boy's not quite right. In the highly unlikely event that he were to file suit, your attorney will ask him, why do you think that when the public hears the story of despicable, fucked up action without your name being mentioned, your identity immediately leaps to the forefront of the public's mind? And that will likely be the end of things. In the unlikely even that he were to sue, check with your homeowners or renter's insurance. There's a thin possibility that they might provide a lawyer at their expense. Oop. That's good to hear. And a good tip. Thank you. Deleted. If it's true, then he can pound sand. If it's false but a joke, you can also tell him to pound sand. Defamation of character doesn't generally apply to satire, as long as it's clearly satire. Oop. It's true, not satire. Basically, one time he made a very whimsical, funny, poignant, out-of-the-blue observation while he was doing something very abusive to me. I have a bit about what he said and what the train of thought could be to decide to say that, while abusing your girlfriend, it sounds very dark, but I promise it's not that shocking or heavy when I just tell the story. It's really a thing that happened. My musings of his thought process are fabricated, obviously. EJ255WRXX. This sounds like a good premise for some really funny jokes. Sucks that you were abused, but I think it's great that you can find humor in the darkness now that you're removed from that situation. Oop. Thanks. Being able to laugh at the bad things in life takes away their power, emo. It's healing. If something is so trivial to me that I can make jokes about it, then it doesn't have the power to negatively affect me either. Update Nov 27, 2018, 1 month later. Thanks to everyone for the advice. Quite a bit has happened since my first post. I ignored him and continued doing what I was doing. Then a few days after I posted, he showed up at the bar while I wasn't there and asked around for me. They said he seemed drunk, which is unfortunate as he allegedly got sober after our breakup, and they told him to fuck off and called me to warn me. Before I could even react to that, he contacted several people at my work via social media, including one person very high up in upper management who barely knows who I am. He sent them all the same opener, saying he was trying to reach out to me and asked for my phone number or email and saying it was urgent. 2 of my colleagues responded to this message that I know of. Both said something to the effect that they wouldn't be able to share my info, but they'd let me know he asked. He then began threatening them and warning them about me and telling them very sexually explicit things about me and asking if they were sure I was the type of person they wanted to work with. I was really trying to avoid asking anyone at work for help, even though I knew they would be nice about it. I didn't want to be the person that drags their drama into the office, but my ex did it for me, so I decided it couldn't hurt at this point to consult with a friendly coworker in legal to see what she thinks. She walked me through getting a restraining order and put me in touch with an attorney that practices in this arena if I end up needing it. I really hope not to. Literally 2 days after the TRO was granted and he had been served, he showed up at the bar again, drunk again, and this time I was there. It was honestly really surreal seeing him. They kicked him out, but he loitered outside and refused to leave, and the bartender and my friends and some random strangers were all guarding the door. It was quite the debacle. We called the cops and he was arrested. So I think I'm in the clear for now, although I know he's willing to break the law, so I'm not incredibly comfortable. I put up cameras in my apartment. My friends are walking me out to the car every night. I used to walk alone. It's a safe enough area, it was never a concern before. My employer and colleagues are aware and supportive, even though I wish I could have kept this private. I'm doing what I can. There wasn't a huge dramatic ending to all of this, but it seems like it should be over now. Here's hoping. Thank you again for the advice and support, everyone. Edit, I appreciate all the kind and helpful PMs and will continue to appreciate and respond to those, but I will not be responding to all the messages asking to hear the joke or other questions about my life, comedy in general, sorry. Privacy.
This is a repost sub. I am not the oop.
Do not contact the oops or comment on linked posts. Remember Rule 7. Here are the top comments. First comment, what a joke of a man. Second comment, we called the cops and he was arrested.
Yes, good ending.
Third comment, what a loser. And he Streisand affected himself. Idiot. Now a ton of people know he was the one that did the horrible thing to OOP. Edited for spelling. Fourth comment, I will never understand what the end game is for people like that. Why put in all that effort? Do they want to get back together? This is not how you charm someone. Are they just angry? Why ruin your own life over trying to impact someone else's? Truly baffling. Fifth comment, how refreshingly rare that the police actually committed to an arrest before this escalated in her getting murdered first.